me see how quickly I can get this done. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da! From the Kaiser Permanente Studios, it's SDH AM. John here, you there. Thanks for dropping by as you always do. And the chaos of the hair continues. Doesn't matter what a headset has on it. Headset can only do so much. All right, so here's the rundown for the morning. Morning Will. It is, obviously, we're going to talk a lot about what happened in Major League Soccer last night. We've got highlights and posts from Atlanta United. You'll hear from Tata Martino starting at around the bottom of the hour. We'll go through the rest of Major League Soccer, go through the rest of everything going on from a news perspective, because there is plenty going on this morning, and we've got to get into it and let you know what's going on, because it is FIFA, it's transfers, and there's news or reports, let's put it that way. There are reports involving Atlanta United and an individual that we all got to experience in said World Cup. Yeah, we got rumors, Ricky, so we're going to get into that. David, good morning. So after our first guest, we'll get fully into Major League Soccer. We'll get into Atlanta United, get into the rest of the night, because we just like saying the word Planbeck. And then we'll go through the rest of your news and get you into everything else that's going on. Niko Moreno is going to join us at 10:30. And coming up, batting leadoff here in just a sec, we're going to find out about Barrie, Ontario, and MLS Next Pro with Peter Raco, President and CEO of Barrie MLS Next Pro and the Barrie Stadium Group, because the Young Reds are moving. And we were like, okay, we need to find out about this, considering that part of what we do has to do with MLS Next Pro, with our broadcast of Atlanta United 2. And the Twos kick off their home schedule coming up this weekend. Once again, I think it's 5 of 6 and part of 6 of 7. And we'll get you prepped for that to match up on the weekend with the NYCFC. But part of our mandate, once again, part of our journalism has to do with the stories of the day and getting an education on why a club wants to go from a university setting where they're paying rent and they're doing all these kinds of things at York. And now in 2 years' time, a stadium is going to be built in Barrie, Ontario. And this is going to be a full education for all of us. We're going to find out about Barrie separated from York, separated from Toronto, and all of the whys that are associated with it. And it's like, why here, why this league, why TFC, obviously the association with Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, all those things here from the Kaiser Permanente Studios, because right there, it says right there, presented by Kaiser Permanente. So Kaiser Permanente Studios couldn't do it without them, and we can't thank them enough for all of what they've done to help us grow ever since day one. So that is everything that is attached to us. You always see a lot of Kaiser Permanente on us, but we can't thank them enough for having the faith and the trust in us from the absolute beginning. So that is why we are from the Kaiser Permanente Studios. So opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy-bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Black Pitch Coffee, opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. I'm kind of skipping ahead to the story that we kind of need to keep an eye on here, brought to us by our friends at The Athletic, Colin Miller, Jacob Whitehead. International advisory bodies raised 7 notices relating to possible match manipulation from potential betting irregularities identified in the World Cup. Findings from the Group of Copenhagen. Beat 2, 3, 4. An independent international network dedicated to detecting, sanctioning, and preventing the manipulation of sports competitions follow its integrity monitoring operation across the 104 matches. Full report has not yet been published, but a summary of its conclusions has been released by the Council of Europe. So we have the Group of Copenhagen and the Council of Europe. According to sources briefed on the report, among the in-game notices to raise potential irregularities were the red card shown to South Africa's Themba Zwane in the 84th minute of his side's tournament opening match against Mexico, American cryptocurrency-based prediction market Polymarket, receiving just under $5 million on markets for Spain not to defeat Cabo Verde in the group stage match, the 3.5-minute delay from the VAR team to disallow a goal from Ferran Torres in their 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia. Finding sources say also detailed how Polymarket opened the market on July 2, asking, will Aaron Balogun play against Belgium? Opened the same day that he was shown the red card against Bosnia-Herzegovina in the last 32. FIFA's Disco only confirmed Balogun would be available to play. Once again, we get into the ban. Sources say the group of Copenhagen's report said no other such markets were open for the other 14 players who were shown a red card during the tournament, none of whom had bans suspended. Group of Copenhagen, which operates under the Council of Europe's Macolin Convention, a multilateral treaty which seeks to address fixing by changing international law, has said it has sent an official request for a written explanation to FIFA regarding the Balogun case. Athletic has approached FIFA and Polymarket for comment. Christian Kalb, a gambling industry expert who's worked with several governments on betting regulatory issues, has worked with the group of Copenhagen before, though wasn't a part of this report, and he told the Athletic irregularities flagged may be because of other factors aside from manipulation. Group of Copenhagen's op was conducted in coordination with the Integrity Task Force of FIFA, of which it and the Council of Europe are independent, are members. On Tuesday, the Integrity Task Force published findings reporting that, quote, no suspicious betting activity or indications of match manipulation in connection with any fixture, end quote, had been ID'd across the entirety of the competition. However, the group of Copenhagen detailed that 7 yellow notices, in quotes, were raised within its own monitoring of the World Cup per the group's definition. These notices are flagged due to, quote, several different indications of irregularities, which can include, quote, unexplained fluctuations in odds, rumors on social media, or source information, end quote. Green is normal, yellow is a slightly increased alert, orange is an increased alert, and red is the highest. And then Kalb told The Athletic their notices can be explained by atypical behavior such as changes in odds or hedging liquidities. There are many explanations that are not manipulations. And so Kalb went on to discuss what goes into that process. Group of Copenhagen estimates $240 billion placed in bets across the World Cup, approximately twice the amount from the 22 World Cup in Qatar. 15 matches were placed under increased surveillance, particularly during the final round of the group stage matches, and, quote, 12 major controversies analyzed in light of integrity risks. For the first time, the Group of Copenhagen provided continuous monitoring of Polymarket, Kalshi, etc., which operate under evolving regulatory environments depending on jurisdiction. Said in their report, these prediction markets raise unprecedented issues. They allow betting on a very wide range of events, often anonymously and using payment methods that are difficult to trace. Monitoring them is a first for an international competition, end quote. That's a lot. That's a mouthful. So we'll keep an eye on all that stuff, and we'll keep you posted on all of this. Morning, let's see. So Ricky's in, David's in, Will is in. North Will and Will B. And I'm trying to see if I've missed anybody here. David, Ricky, Will. David, Ricky, and Will are in early this morning. And so we're discussing a little bit of Atlanta United too, and we're discussing announcers. So that's always a good start. We can get into the announcer bit as always this morning. But that is opening kickoff, brought to you by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil, Guatemala, heavy body, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. All right, so once again, the rundown this morning. We're going to catch up on Barrie, Ontario, and Major League Soccer and MLS Next Pro coming up here in a sec, because Peter Raco is a very, very busy man. And I think we were catching him like in between business meetings because of the big announcement that was made having to do with with a stadium and the movement of TFC2 eventually to Barrie, Ontario. So that'll be our education coming up in a bit. We'll go over everything having to do with Atlanta United and what went down with that last night. We've got to start, obviously, with the report by our buddy Ben Jacobs that popped up early this morning. And really quickly, let's say Christian Solis, he's got the pen hovering over the contract. Leeds and James Trafford, Adeyemi, Hull City, Leeds. Hang on just to say, this is what happens with Ben. Ben will do like 9 different stories. Okay. This happened 7 o'clock this morning, our time. Braylon Bolo attracting interest from Atlanta United, also considered by Hull City and Ipswich, along with multiple Serie A clubs. A sale is possible with Mbolo at around 15 million euro. So that happened about 7 o'clock this morning. So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll see what intel our buddy Ben Jacobs has. All right, we'll put a bookmark there. Now, it's time to go to Barrie, Ontario, and find out what is going on with Barrie MLS Next Pro. And as we've said, part of our missive and part of our mandate has to do with covering MLS Next Pro, since we are the flagship station for Atlanta United 2. And we saw this story come across our bow, and we're like, yeah, we got to find out what's going on. So we go to, I imagine, Barrie, Ontario, unless it's somewhere else in the Golden Horseshoe that we don't know about. Morning, Peter.
Good morning. How are you?
There we go. As everything equalizes with the lens and everything.
That's right, John. Thanks for having me on.
No worries, man. Like I said, part of our mandate missive, part of our journalistic purview here on the morning show on SDH is MLS Next Pro. Like I said, we're the flagship for Atlanta United 2 on the audio side. And I saw this story come across our bow, and I'm like, yeah, I got to catch up with you and find out what's going on. And our audience, based here in the southeastern United States, they know about MLS Next Pro. They know about Toronto
Right.
FC2 and the Young Reds and York University and all of that. But they may not necessarily know about, yes, and we believe in hydration breaks too. That is always important. But they may not necessarily know about Barrie, Ontario, its place in the Golden Horseshoe, and where everything lies in the decision-making process. So since you are the grand exalted poobah of this whole thing that is up there in Barrie, Ontario, as he's multitasking, he's conducting business meetings at the same time. So as grand exalted poobah of everything when it comes to Barrie MLS Next Pro, I wanted to catch up with you to get get all of the background on all of this.
Absolutely.
And find out what's going on. So what is going on?
Yeah, extremely exciting. Last week, I think we hosted the largest MLS Next Pro team launch announcement in league history here in Barrie at Meridian Place Stage, downtown Barrie. We had roughly 1,000 folks out, and we announced, I think, which might be a kind of a first of its kind or close to it, a partnership with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and Toronto FC, where they're relocating Toronto FC to Barrie. We're building them an iconic small soccer stadium. I think probably one of the first of its kind in Canada. It's going to be about 4,000 permanent seats, expandable probably by an additional 2,000 to 3,000. Roof, fully covered roof, 16 luxury suites, club lounge, rooftop terrace, field side seats on the east side. So really put a lot of effort into the design of the stadium. So we announced a team, as I kind of detailed out in the press release. Toronto FC will retain the sporting side of the business. So from a player's perspective, from a coaching perspective, they'll retain that. And our group here in Barrie is going to run the operations of the team from a revenue, from an operations standpoint, from a game day standpoint. Will be our sole responsibility to build a club here in a community that is about, let's call it, an hour to an hour and a half north of downtown Toronto, 45 minutes north of the major airport here in Toronto. But it's a community that I've been a part of now for the last 5 years. I started a semi-professional team here first, and that loves soccer. So I think the MLS and the MLS Next Pro environment and supporters are going to be really, really impressed by this community, and it's going to be a lot of fun to come visit Barrie for away days as well.
Yeah, you mentioned where it's 90 kilometers-ish, 55, 56 miles north of Toronto on the whole, and you fly into Pearson, and this way you get to avoid the QEW completely. You get to head north and not have to worry about the traffic patterns or anything like that.
John, it sounds like you've been to some away days in Toronto.
Well, full disclosure, one of my past lives, I was the U.S. correspondent for the Score Television Network when they did sports.
Okay, very good. Very good. Yeah. We're one of our media outlets here in Canada.
All about King Street and camping out and walking down to Gretzky Steakhouse, and grew up on CP24 in my impressionable years, and Gordon, and trust me, I probably know entirely too much than anybody about Toronto.
Maybe more than me.
But I wanted to ask about the buildup in this, because how
Mhm.
far back was the brain power to sit in a room with hermetically sealed glass and glass tables and matching chairs to sit there and go, yeah, we probably should A, build a barn, and B, it should be MLS Next Pro. How far back are we going here?
Well, I started with a couple guys from the Canadian national team, Julian DeGuzman, Atiba Hutchison, Kyle Aaron, Janine Becky, and Daniil Henry, a semi-professional team in Barrie called Simcoe County Rovers.
Right.
We play the team still operates. We sold the team last year, but the team still operates. And actually, just congratulations to Simcoe County Rovers. They just won the women's division for a second year in a row. We saw some really great traction with the team. We won the Ontario Championships. We actually played against Toronto FC in the Canadian Championships in 2024. We brought a record 2,000 away fans to BMO Field in Toronto for that match that we played in the Canadian Championship in 2024. So I would say I think the idea started percolating that, hey, maybe we might really have something here that we can continue growing. Obviously at the League One level or this third division level and MLS Next Pro, completely different budgets and paths. So I think the idea started kind of percolating at that moment back in April 2024, but it really kicked off. I would say spearheaded by the city and another local group to say, hey, I think there's an opportunity to do a public-private partnership and build a soccer-specific stadium in their downtown core. I think this opportunity really only happens with kind of a joint effort from Toronto FC, from the city, and from a local group. Really a symbiotic relationship that's so far to this point of announcements working out very well, and seems like everybody's benefiting and kind of getting what they want out of this relationship.
Obviously, when Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment knocks on your door, you sit there and it's like, yeah, we should listen to this conversation. But were there any thoughts when this idea was percolating about building this stadium in the downtown core of Barrie of going into a different league? Because there is a bit of an alphabet soup that is growing in Canada when it comes to Canada-specific leagues. Was there any thought about going into those other places, or has this just been locked in with Toronto FC and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment?
No, it's been locked in since day one. I mean, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and Toronto FC are a real catalyst behind this. Without them, this wouldn't be happening. The city wouldn't be supporting to the tune of $26 million a soccer-specific stadium in the downtown core. Toronto FC obviously is Canada's most decorated football team and has a long history here. Really having that name and investment in sporting, I guess the sporting operations from Toronto FC was a really big get for the city. So I think we were laser focused on making a deal happen with Toronto FC and MLS Next Pro. I think there's some amazing other opportunities here in Canada, and I'm a big fan of the Canadian Premier League, season ticket holder myself with Hamilton Forge, so big supporter of that league. But for the economics of this deal and the structure of this deal, we've really found ourselves in an amazing place where, again, Toronto FC is getting what they want from the sporting standpoint, and an amazing local partner that they trust in the operations of us. Of operating team in Barrie, and then the city of Barrie, they're bringing their first professional sports team to the city. The city has an OHL team, primarily. OHL is an amateur league, albeit an amazing league and well followed league. They average about 35 to 4,000 fans a game there, but it's a little bit different when you're welcoming in the likes of Atlanta United 2 or New York Red Bull 2 Chattanooga to Barrie, as opposed to some municipalities that are an hour away.
When you're trying to piece all of this together, it's an abandoned property, former school property. I guess technically, since the school's no longer there, I guess it's abandoned because so real estate is there. When you I think capacity for soccer, I think, is 3,500. You're looking at 8,500 for other events and things like that. When it comes to turning over, the first shovels and all that kind of stuff, you tear the chain link fence down, you have your big ceremony, putting shovels in the dirt. How long do you anticipate from that moment to getting the stadium up and running? Because your weather there in Ontario province is a little different than some other places, and you're going to be fighting
Absolutely.
Mother Nature, who's undefeated. So what's the timetables and how do you navigate all that?
Yeah, so we're right in the throes of detailed design right now. So you mentioned 3,500. That was the announced capacity. I think my hope is we can push that up to 4,000 or just over 4,000 permanent seats to give us a little bit more room to sell more inventory and tickets and probably build one of the mini first class environments in MLS Next Pro. We're going to site plan submission in August, which is important. That kind of really kicks off the call it official development process with the city. We're hoping to push some dirt and do some initial earthworks this year, and then have 2027 to really get the bulk of the building done. We'll then kind of bleed into 2028 with some final fixturing and open up well in advance of the 2028-2029 season.
And so when you have a project like this, I always like to ask those individuals that are like right there on the front lines of a project. I know that there is a to-do list. You had the announcement last week. You had everybody with the scarves and the sound bites and folks that were there to see what was going on. That I can't wait to see the blended Barrie Colts, Barrie MLS Next Pro scarves. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, very good. Well, John, I'll get your address after this, and you'll be the first one to get one.
Sweet. It's going to hang here in the office, and then the boss will probably steal it. When it comes to the to-do list, and I know that there it is. Yep, there we go. Right there. When it comes to doing something like this, I guess this is a two-part question. Have you
Sure.
always thought of yourself as a builder? Starting something from a brand new idea. Have you always been wired this way? And I know that there is a to-do list, so you can get to the idea of turning dirt and getting everything going. Where is that to-do list? Is it on a Google Doc? Is it on one of those big 6-foot by 8-foot dry erase boards that's got a bunch of different colors for, if green means revenue? Where is that to-do list, and what's the next thing you think?
Well, it's really it's really twofold here, John, because we are not only running the operation of the MLS Next Pro team, but we're also leading the development of the stadium. So our group, it's kind of bifurcated into two: Barrie Stadium Group as well as Barrie MLS Next Pro. So the reality is we're launching a professional soccer team in a year and a half. On one to-do list. On the second to-do list, we're building a stadium. So I think the to-do lists live in multiple locations. We have a great team of on our ownership group that has a lot of history and development, which is helpful. But again, I just going back to my point, I think of it really as almost two separate projects that are happening simultaneously and are really married. The stadium development piece is much more about figuring out how to build this thing as quickly as possible and getting materials and contractors locked in and getting a site plan approval in and working with architects on that, which is a little bit more, I would say, of a science than an art. And then launching a professional football team in a community that's never had one at this level is more of an art than a science. We're looking to in terms of next steps and really what we're doing, we're going to be launching a season ticket or founders membership deposit program shortly, exclusive to kind of priority access registrations. We've seen tremendous influx of inquiries across the board. If you look at what Grand Rapids is doing with AC Grand Rapids and their program, our hope is to mirror that. So there's really two separate kind of verticals or two separate pathways here, one being building a stadium and one being launching a club. And I think we've announced a club last week, we've announced a stadium last week. That's really kind of kicked it off in the public light. But now we get to, I guess, enjoy the hard part of building a stadium in 18 months and then launching a pro club at the same time under the same timelines.
So when you have questions, and it could be about art turning to science or science turning into art, who's on your speed dial that will pick up instantly because you'd be like, man, I don't know what I've got to do here? And so who are those reference points and those role models for you that you can sit there and dial up and go, I know they'll answer my question for me like this because I'm up against the clock?
Yeah. Well, our relationship with Toronto FC is extremely strong. So Toronto FC has an amazing group of individuals that make up that office, leading with Chris Schufelt there. So there's a lot of support from Toronto FC, and I think some of the initial things we've done we've really leveraged some of the learnings from that organization when they launched 25 years ago. Some of the same individuals are still there today or close to it. Our ownership group and chairman Jamie Massey, he also founded the Barrie Colts of the OHL. So he brought the Barrie Colts in and built their arena under a very similar structure as to how we have the structure with the MLS Next Pro program. So I know with the MLS and Next Pro, and hometown, like this could be a relatively new structure, but Jamie actually had this public-private partnership building a stadium 30 years ago and brought in an OHL team here to Barrie. So he's been an amazing resource. We have Hillier Hansen, who was the president of Pratt Homes as well, involved, Norwegian background, extremely involved in the soccer landscape. So we have a really good kind of a group of individuals from the development standpoint that's helping really push the stadium along, as well as from the from the commercial standpoint of running a soccer business and understanding that. But ultimately, I think we want to do things the right way through and through. When it comes to launching a team, I've had the benefit of doing this at the semi-pro level. I've also had the benefit of being a extremely interested soccer fan since I was about 9 years old. So, I've seen dozens of teams launch. We have ideas as to how we want to go about this. If you look at our launch event, we had Matthew Cinetti from TSN host it. Matthew, he just got off, the weekend before he was at the semifinals of the World Cup. The weekend after he was at the finals of the World Cup. So, we gave away over 400 scarves. We have an amazing landing website in place. So we have really ideas as to how we want to launch this team. And I think more than how we want to launch this team is how are we building a community from day one? How are we making people feel included, but also feel like they have access to this team? So we're really hyper focused on figuring out how to make this a community club, where the folks sitting to the left and to the right of you are the same folks week in, week out, and you feel like this is really a club that you're a member of, you're a part of, versus a team that you buy a ticket and sit wherever type deal.
And we will definitely be keeping an eye on all of it. I can't thank you enough for answering an email from a random U.S. soccer network that wants to catch up with you about what's going on. But to us, it's a story that needed to be told because of what's been going on with the sport here in North America, and it was natural for us to reach out. I can't thank you enough for hopping on.
Absolutely, John. And just a quick closing remark. I mean, I'm just tremendously proud to represent Barrie at the MLS Next Pro environment. I mean, to see the growth in the league over the last couple of years, notably the last really year to two, has been phenomenal. So much credit goes to Ali Curtis and the team at MLS Next Pro. But I really see this as a trend that's going to continue. With future expansion still yet to be announced. I know there's some great things in the pipeline, but what we're seeing in Grand Rapids, what we're seeing in Connecticut, and so on and so forth, it's phenomenal to see. And thank you so much for having me on, John.
Well, we're going to be knocking on your door as things continue to grow and progress, and we can't wait to see how things are going to roll on. Do you need a note to get into your business meeting for us keeping you until after 9:30? You okay?
I'm all good, my man. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right, we'll catch up with you soon,
John,
Peter.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Very good. It's Peter Raco, Grand Exalted Poobah of everything going on in Barrie, Ontario. Barrie is about, like I said, 90 kilometers, about 55 miles north of downtown Toronto. And Peter mentioned where you get out at Pearson, you drive for an hour, and you're in the northern sections of the Greater Golden Horseshoe is what they call it. And so for us to be able to track down this story and see it come from its genesis, I thought it was important. Just on the growth of the game, the greater growth of the game, what it means to MLS Next Pro, because Ali Curtis was there for the groundbreaking and the unveiling and all of that. So Ali Curtis was there. You mentioned Matthew Cheney from TSN, who we know from his coverage of the Canadian men's national team. And like I said, just it made sense for us to reach out to be able to find out what's going on. And another one of those elements where you're building a stadium in a downtown core. 4,000, maybe, expandable from there, as Peter said, to larger points. 8,500, you can. The plan is for 8,500 for concerts, but you're thinking 9,000 if you can get to 4,000 seats and all the amenities and everything. So downtown core development and MLS Next Pro, Toronto FC2, eventually leaving the York University footprint and then working their way up to be a part of things in Barrie as a part of the association with Toronto FC, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and to be able to have that facility there. That's where Barrie, Ontario is with all of this process. So once again, thanks to Peter for dropping by and hanging out with us this morning to let everybody know what's going on as we are with MLS Next Pro. So that is kind of an elongated opening kickoff brought to us by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. All right, let's get into Atlanta United, shall we? And yeah, and Will, it does kind of sound like Joe Davis. It's away from the city, from an MLS team, but fairly large for the league. And so it does seem that way. And I know that a lot of folks, in a Toronto area or in a large city, you're looking at, say, a distance of, so let's do this. So if we did Google Maps just as a way of doing things. So if we said and since Peter mentioned the airport, so let's go from the airport to, let's see. So if we go from the airport to the Fraction, how long are we talking? 35 miles. So from the airport to the Fraction's 35 miles. From the airport to the Turner Complex in Athens, it's 80. So if you're looking for something from the airport as a reference point, then it's probably, so if you're looking at 50 miles, I'm literally in between the two. So, I'm trying to think of something that would be like 50 miles from the airport for Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson International Airport. So if you went another 10, let's see. So if you went to, I don't know if the Gathering would do it or not, but you're looking to basically, if you go from Hartsfield Jackson to the Fraction, then you're looking at another 15 miles north of that. So you'd be going to like Lake ATLUTD. So that would be kind of the direction you'd be heading. So like Lake Point. So if you go where they have a lot of the baseball tournaments here in our area, they have a lot of, it's a massive baseball fields, big, it's a big complex that has massive and multiple baseball fields for, no, not Lake Point Place, Lake Point with an E. All right, so Lake Point Sports. So if we did that, that's about right. Okay, so if you go airport to Lake Point, listed at 49 miles, 48.4 miles, 47, 48 miles. So that's what you're looking at. You get off at the airport, you got like travel ball tournaments and everything. In baseball, you're going to Lake Point, which is up in Cartersville. So that's the distance that you're looking for. That's the comparison from at least this particular footprint when it comes to distance and things like that. Yeah, Alex, you're spot on. Yeah, Cartersville. Go to Lake Point. It'd be like going from Hartsville to Lake Point. That's what this is with Toronto and the MLS Next Pro group in Barrie. You're going from the airport at Pearson and you're going to Barrie. It's like going from Hartsfield to Lake Point. For those of us that are here in this footprint that know about travel baseball and all that kind of stuff. So that's your comparison. That's the distance. So, not something that is unheard of, but it is an interesting idea where Barrie, Ontario and Barrie MLS and Toronto FC and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment got together and they're like, yeah, let's go up into the northern exurbs and we'll do something there. So that's what we're up to with Barrie MLS Next Pro. And in 2 years' time, if Mother Nature agrees, they'll have that stadium online in the downtown core. And it's one of those other economic drivers that you're looking at to do a bunch of different things to help out Barrie, Ontario and the downtown. Okay. All right. Let's get into what happened last night. Starting off with Atlanta United and their travel to Charlotte, where Greg Tepper has always said from day one, you're our number one rival. Okay, cool. Starts off, and it didn't start out well. You had 2 goals on the board in the first 45 minutes, and we could get into what we could get into, but let's get through the action first and foremost, and the post game. You'll hear from Tata Martino in a bit. So, goal by Kerwin Vargas off a rebound and a great save by Lucas Hoyos in the 16th minute. You're down 1-0. Then Leo Labata, who was pretty much unmarked at the back post. It was a great cross to lead in. It's 2-0 at the break. And then you end up with Atlanta United coming back with a goal on the board. We go to the 57th minute, and it was a first for this particular player and his time at Atlanta United. Courtesy of 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Here's Mike and Jason.
Jacob into the far corner. Jacob with the cross for Baez. Header! Score! First Atlanta United goal for Elias Baez, and the lead for Charlotte cut in half in the 57th minute.
And boos here in Charlotte. That's a little surprising. Really well worked by Atlanta. Fafa Pico drops in, combines, gets the ball out wide. It's good work from your number 9, Fafa Pico. And then a really well picked out cross from Jacob. He doesn't just blindly put the ball into the 18. He sees Baez making the late run, and the 2 young Argentine fullbacks combine to get Atlanta back into this one.
So it's 2-1 at that point, and you get to Atlanta United chasing the game, sensing an opening. Charlotte just kind of seemed like they wanted to get out of town. With a 2-0 lead, it seemed like the second half they just wanted to get out of town, and it was their town. It's like, yeah, we just want this over with. You start to do things slowly. You start to fall. You start to have substitutions with injuries, and the substitutions, you wonder how they're allowed. And like I said, that's a conversation for after postgame. But you had the opportunity to tie it Close chance for Atlanta United after that first goal on the board. Close call, almost a brace. 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app.
One-man wall is Gianni for Charlotte. Almiron, only man standing over the ball for Atlanta with hands on hips. He's up to it. He strikes it. He goes to the penalty spot. Header! Punch saved by Colino over the crossbar and out for a corner. Very nearly the equalizer for Atlanta. A header right on goal that Colino did well with, and Baez almost got a brace.
Great header from Baez. Great delivery from Almiron. Kalina able to push that one over. It's just power. You're not trying to place that if you're Baez. You're trying to slam that one home, and Kalina's able to make the save.
Really good response, though, for Atlanta United, who was down 2-0 in this match. This will come out of the far corner goal to our left. 74th minute.
And they got close, but then you end up after that with the equalizer and a moment for Miguel Almiron. 92.9 the game in the Odyssey app.
Back to Baez, who stabs it down to Fafa Pico in the near attacking corner. Cut back pass with the left wing, Moyemba. Center to Sanchez, down the middle, Almiron, top of the box. To Baez, left side of the box. Here's his cross for Jacob, headed down to the ground to Ream. Almiron, shot, score! They've tied it! Atlanta United comes from 2-0 down to equalize in the 77th minute. First goal of the year for Miguel Almiron.
It wasn't pretty, but he scuffs it home with the right foot. The header back down to him. It's great work from Baez, who should get a secondary assist on it. I think it was Jacob who had the header down to Almiron, and he's able to scuff that one home with the right foot.
And Atlanta United in the 77th minute now cancels the subs as Charlotte spots for the kickoff, but they're asking for a check.
What are we trying to check now? Sergi Boyko really has no control over this game.
Understatement. Mike and Jason, 2-2 draw. Like I said, if you thought that Charlotte was interested in just getting out of town in the 46th minute, and they really wanted to get out of town after the first goal, then they really wanted to get out of town after the equalizer. Just uninterested in playing. And you get out of Charlotte with 1 point when you were just adrift in the first 45 minutes. So you take with it the fight that was there. You sensed an opening. You get the point on the road. You're staying in Charlotte today. You're going to practice today and tomorrow, I believe, and then you're going up to Foxborough. I don't know if you're flying into Logan or to Providence, but it's a game against a very, very tough Revs team. First time this year that Atlanta United actually played on turf, and they go from turf to turf. They're going to play in Foxborough on Saturday night. So after the match, there's a chance to hear what Tata Martino had to say. Here's Jason's questions for Tata Martino after the match, courtesy of Atlanta United, their own selves.
Just thoughts on your team's comeback in the second half.
Tu pensamiento sobre la remontada del equipo. Es bastante similar al partido anterior. Creo que en líneas generales jugamos bien. En el primer tiempo ya habíamos creado 3 o 4 situaciones de gol. Me parece que era demasiada diferencia, 2 goles abajo, y en el segundo tuvimos la convicción para no desordenarnos y seguir jugando de la misma manera.
I think it was pretty similar to the previous game where we played pretty well. I think that we created 3 or 4 good chances in the first half, but then we give up 2 goals to go down 2 goals. And in the second half, I think we had the conviction to stay organized and to be able to come back.
The way the game flowed, I saw that you had substitutions planned and then had to change them, and that happened multiple times. Could you talk through the changes that you were able to make and the changes that sometimes you had to make?
Dice por los momentos del partido, tuviste que cambiar los planes.
Sí, varias veces.
Sí, si puedes hablar.
Bueno, en un primer momento empezaba a haber gente cansada, necesitábamos empatar el partido. cuando estaba decidido por los dos primeros cambios empatamos, me parecía que no había que tocar nada en ese momento, por eso hubo tantas idas y vueltas con el tema de los cambios.
Yeah, I think in one moment I noticed some of the guys were tired, so we were going to make changes. But just after that, we scored the goal and then goal to tie it. So I think because of that, those moments, we had some back and forth with the substitutions.
Two players really stood out to us on the radio broadcast. One was Lucas, multiple huge saves to keep the team in it. How important has he been for you this season? I know at times people yell at goalkeepers when goals get scored, but I feel like he's made a number of big saves.
Lucas hoy tuvo unas paradas muy importantes. Qué tan importante es y ha sido este año, que a veces la gente habla mucho cuando se encaja goles, pero que él ha estado.
La verdad que él ha tenido muy buena respuesta a lo largo de todo el año y además es un líder dentro del vestuario, dentro de la cancha. Es un jugador que en poco tiempo se transformó en un futbolista muy valioso para nosotros.
He's a player who has been like that all season for us. He's a leader in the locker room. He's a leader on the field, and so he's been able to provide that for us all season.
The other one for me was our man of the match, Elias Baez, involved in both goals, great defensively as well. How have you seen his progression from game one to now?
Bueno, nosotros lo que tenemos que entender es que tanto Elías como Tomás, si bien son dos chicos que fueron refuerzo y que vienen con mucha expectativa, no dejan de ser chicos muy jóvenes que todavía tienen que seguir aprendiendo. Y la verdad que Elías hoy complementó un muy buen partido.
Well, what we have to remember with Tomás and Elias is even though they were brought in to be reinforcements for the team, they're still two young players who are still learning and still growing, but today they had a good game.
Tata Martino after the match. Let's get through your numbers and full-time stats. We'll get into some of the individual players like Hoyos and Jacob and Elias Baez. We'll get into those numbers. Stats across the board. 36 total shots. 24-12 for Charlotte, 9 on target compared to 6. 57 touches total in the opposition 18, 36-21. Charlotte led in that. Each team had 4 big chances. Atlanta United had 1 more big chance missed than Charlotte. 4 yellow cards, 3 of them to Atlanta United. Once again, total shots, 24-12, 11-6 off target. 4 blocked shots for Charlotte. Shots inside the 18, 18-10. And shots outside, obviously, 6-2. So then defensively, Atlanta United led in all the categories. 16-9 in tackles, 7-5 in picks. Had 3 blocks. 25 clearances compared to 12. 7 saves for Lucas Hoyos on the night compared to 4 for Christian Kalina. And it seemed like at times that there were more than just the 7 saves that were credited to Lucas Hoyos. But Hoyos on the night was he was second highest grade from our friends at FOTMOB. Miggy was first with the goal, had an 8.1. Lucas Hoyos had 7 saves, 16 accurate passes, 4 accurate long balls, saves inside the box. He had 5 of those, 13 defensive recoveries, and had 1 chance creation on 39 touches, even won a ground duel on the night. With Baez and Jacob with a yellow card had a 7.4. Joint most defensive contributions with 11, in addition to the assist. 29 of 37 passing at 78%, 11 defensive contributions, 64 touches, had a cross and a long ball to his credit, 5 passes into the final third. Defensively, 11 defensive contributions, 8 clears, 2 picks, 4 recoveries, and he was 3 of 10 on his duels. Elias Baez on the night had the goal, almost had a second. 44 of 48 passing for Elias Baez, the 21-year-old from Argentina. 2 shots on target, 1 shot off. 65 touches, completed all of his crosses, and had the 1 long ball completion. 5 defensive contributions, 1 tackle, 2 blocks, 2 clears, 1 recovery, and was 3 of 8 on his duels on the night. Tristan Muyumba had a 7.8. He was up there as well with the the night that he had. Once again, joint most defensive contributions from Tristan. 90 minutes, 38 of 41 passing at 93%, 56 touches. 11 defensive contributions, 5 tackles, 3 clears, 3 picks, 4 recoveries, and only lost 1 duel on the night. 6 of 7 on his duels for Tristan Muyumba. Starting lineup, Hoyos in net, Bios, Junior Alonso, and in his first action, 91 touches, by the way, and had the most touches for Atlanta United on the night. 79 of 81 passing at 98%. 5 defensive contributions, 5 passes into the final third, 6 of 8 long balls, and this was intentional from Atlanta United off the top, where they were trying to go long over the top and go over the back line of Charlotte. That was on purpose as a part of the game plan. 6 of 8 accurate long balls on the night from Junior Alonso. And 5 defensive contributions, 4 clears, 3 recoveries, and a dribble pass, and he won a duel on the night. It was Baez, Alonso, Mihai, and Jacob, Will Riley, and Tristan Muyumba, the 2 in front of them. Your midfielders, your attacking midfielders, Miguel Almiron, Cooper Sanchez, and Alexei Miranchuk. Fafa Pico was up top. And your subs on the day, Luke Brennan came in. Big day for Ignacio Suarez-Corey, who came in and gave you 11 minutes, had a defensive save in the scrambles late in the match. And then Stian Gregerson came in to help shore things up defensively in the 90th minute. You had also on the short-term call-ups, you also had Toto Majub available, Arif Kovac available, and Adrian Gill, who was a first-team player, brought up, but you did not need him to exercise a short-term agreement because he's under a first-team contract. So that's the rundown with Atlanta United and their numbers on the night. So 1-1 draw, and I am if I'm looking at Charlotte, and if I'm looking for teams that are going to be climbing into the playoff picture and clubs that are going to be fading out, or even if they are in the playoff picture and you get that first round matchup, I'm circling Charlotte, because Charlotte showed that at least in pressure situations, they had a lead. They were trying to keep that lead, and they weren't all that great at it. So with the 1-1 draw, Charlotte is in a logjam in 7th. Only thing keeping them in 7th is the horrendous goal difference of Red Bulls. Everybody at 22 points has 6 wins. NYC has a far superior goal difference to Charlotte. Charlotte is well superior to Red Bulls by a margin of 10. Atlanta United with the point is at 12 points, obviously next to last, still 3-10-3 on the season, and they've only scored 16 goals, but you get 2 last night. And now you get to go to New England on Saturday night, and they are 7-1-1 at home this season. And 8-5-2, they are in third place, or they're tied for 26 points, but they're in 4th on goal difference behind Chicago. So that is the rundown involving Atlanta United last night. And getting into Sergi Boyko, I don't know what he was thinking. I really don't. There were times where I had no earthly idea what Sergi Boyko was thinking. He was in the way 5 different occasions. His angles, we need to get him to have a discussion with our friend Kevin Hewitt. And Wiley will be getting into Messi and friends here in a bit when we go through the rest of Major League Soccer. Yeah, I don't know what Sergi Boyko was thinking. The calls were not consistent. The VAR, and this is another aspect of the match in and of itself. We always talk about game state and how things can change. The goal in the 16th minute should not have stood. Actually, this is just me. Going back to the 16th minute, you have Ashley Westwood karate kick Elias Baez inside the 18. Baez goes down. And I mean, Westwood, I went back to watch it. After Jason, and I had multiple devices, but I went back to watch Ashley Westwood basically karate kick Elias Baez inside the 18. Baez goes down, no call. Then you're coming back the other way in transition, and you eventually do score. Oh, well, expediter Ray 4. No, well, if you show up on a place where I can eliminate you, actually, no, I can't eliminate you because I can do this now. Add to restream block list. Yes, I can do that. I forgot I could do that. Coming back the other way, obviously it transitions into the Vargas goal, and VAR decides that they want to look at Will Riley and a possible violent conduct red without even completely ignoring. I mean, they completely ignored what happened at the beginning of the play inside the Atlanta United 18. Literally, you had just an absolute karate kick, and I think if Elias Baez had stayed down and perhaps accentuated what happened and reminded everybody that it was, in fact, a karate kick, it wasn't even part of the review. It was not even part of the review in VAR. The only thing that was reviewed in VAR after the goal was scored by Kerwin Vargas was Will Riley and his contact for violent conduct. Everything that happened at the beginning of the play, where if you go back, 1535 is the time code, the game code. If you go back and look at 1535, you literally will see Ashley Westwood take his right foot and karate kick Elias Baez in the side of the head. And if you're not looking at that, and I know that looking at Riley, it could have been a red if the tenor of the match was, if it was called in a certain manner to be consistent. If it was consistent with other things, it could have been a red if you had been consistent in all these other calls. But to that point, you don't even review Ashley Westwood kicking Elias Baez in the head. Should have been a high boot inside the 18. Play should have been over at that point. Foul inside the 18. Westwood gets a card. Should have probably been a penalty for Atlanta United at that point. Westwood's contact with Baez wasn't called. You come back the other way. Will Riley gets contact in the transition going back the other way. And they look at that as opposed to what happened before the play started, before the transition moment started, which created the transition. But that it was and I timed it to look for whatever they were looking for, the red and violent conduct for Will Riley. It was a 4-minute 12-second review. Four minutes and 12 seconds. From the moment that you see Sergi Boyko go like this, and he does the monitor look, if you take it from there as he's getting notification from upstairs to go look, it took 4 minutes and 12 seconds for them to decide that it was a yellow on Riley and not a red. For me, I've always maintained that any VAR should be 2.5 minutes max. Because if you get past a certain point, you're looking for something. 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 2.5, somewhere in there. If you can't find what you're looking for, you call it. It's a pitch clock. You're done. You can't sit there and try and Zapruder everything, which is what they were doing also, because if you were looking at the review, and I'll go back and look at it again and see if my recollection is correct, you literally are freeze framing, and Wiley, to your point, spikes to the fib and the Achilles. But you're not supposed to look at stills. You can look at it to add to your evidence, but that's not supposed to be your primary. Like I said, we don't know what the VAR was thinking and what their thought process was. All I know is it took 4 minutes and 12 seconds from the time you go like this to the time the decision is made that Riley gets a yellow and not a red, when you should have been looking at the play that started the whole thing, which would have meant that everything coming the other way was moot. Because the foul that started the play was Ashley Westwood's. And as part and parcel to that process, everything else stops at that moment. But for VAR not even to look at that, for Sergi Boyko and all of his calling and this crew, I don't know. But for VAR not even to go back and look at Ashley Westwood and instead look at Will Riley first, that is a larger issue for me in this. I think that it should have been a penalty for Atlanta with a kick to the head in the box inside the 18. It would have been 1-0 Atlanta in the 17th minute instead of down 1-0 shortly thereafter. Like I said, we always talk about game state and things like that, but we always want to point these things out because we want the game to be better. And when you have a performance from the crew that you had inside, upstairs and downstairs last night, we got to talk about it. And I'm going to go back and watch the game, I'm sure, at least one more time because of all of the fouls that were not called or the range that was given, so stuff could be called. But angles were horrible. He was in the way 5 different occasions, according to Mike. Cooper Sanchez, I think, had to bounce off of him once in the middle of a defensive movement. And we talked about Sergi Boyko going into the match last night anyway. Doesn't call a whole lot of fouls. Percentage of yellows is up there. Not afraid to dial up a red. But he's at the bottom for numbers of fouls called in a match, which reminds me, how many fouls were in this match? Because we were looking at, stats, how many fouls? Because he was third to the bottom in fouls called going in. Fouls committed, 12. Wow. I didn't realize it was that bad. 12 fouls called in the match last night. Man, that is like south of Alan Chapman. That's like if you cut Alan Chapman in half. So he calls 12 fouls, 4 yellow cards on 12 fouls last night. That's wow. I didn't realize it was that. I didn't realize it was like that low a number. But that might be a modern day record, at least in the 26th season, for least number of fouls called in an MLS match to date. I think that's got to be the least. But 12 fouls, 9 fouls on Atlanta United, and 3 yellows. 3 fouls called on Charlotte, 3. And 1 yellow. So the proportionality was there still for you're 1/3 for every 3 fouls you get a yellow, but still 12 fouls, 9 on Atlanta United, 3 yellows, and 1 yellow on 3 fouls committed by Charlotte. Seriously. But like I said, this crew, I don't know what they were thinking at times. I really don't. Like I said, I'm going to go back and listen. And one I think was for dissent. Yeah, I think one was for dissent. It was either Alexi or hang on, I think it might have been Alexi or was it Will? Hang on just a second. Let me check. But so Alexi and Tomas. So it was Alexi and Tomas. So I think Alexi, you are right. I think Wiley, you are right. So Alexi, Tomas Jacob, or it might have been Jacob with scrunch face, if I remember correctly. One of those two. It was either on Alexi or Tomas Jacob on the right-hand side. Then you had the Will Riley yellow that came off of the VAR review. So off of a VAR review, you get one of your yellow cards. And then you have 8 fouls, and then you have 2 yellows that are attached to that. So in our continuing quest to have the sunshine on Pro, this was not a good night for Pro. It really wasn't. Was not. You had everybody up and running, and so you had some interesting choices with some folks. But Atlanta United 2-2 draw with Charlotte. And yeah, it was at times a color your own adventure book when it came to trying to figure out, okay, where's the line when it comes to fouling and what you can do. And apparently it was well off to one side because there was a lot of stuff that happened and a lot of how do we phrase artificial nature to have fouls called, or just fouls weren't called, period. So, yeah, I'm going to go back and listen to this one. I'm going to go back and watch it again. But 12 fouls, 9 on Atlanta, 3 yellow cards, 1 on Will Riley off VAR, 3 fouls called on Charlotte, which to me is very hard to believe. But that was the tenor of the match. Grab, pull, foul, nothing. Bad angles, the whole thing. But at the end of the day, Atlanta United gets out of there with a point. As they're still trying to get Paulo Diaz in with his visa issues. You still don't have Jay Fortune for another couple of weeks. You were thin at center back and midfield last night. You had the 3 call-ups plus Adrian Gill, and everyone is going to be working their way up to Foxborough on Saturday. All right, so let's take the tour. Let's start east, and I'm going to try and do this to where we can go east and save the west for Nico when he comes up here in about 20 minutes. So here's the rundown of what happened last night. We're gonna go all the way from east to west. But like I said, I'm gonna try and filibuster my way through the east with highlights and such. Cincinnati, Vancouver. I did not have this match going, and that also, yes, with Latte Lot being held out on a precaution. Chris Henderson talked to Mike and Jason in the pregame show last night, being held out for precaution. Morning, Abby. I did not have the chaos of last night starting in Cincinnati. I did not have this one. Pavel Buka in the 9th, Bodwall in the 12th, Ryan Gauld in the 25th, Denke in the 28th, and then you had Evander in the 36th. It was 3-2. 4-2 in the early parts of the second half. Buka with a goal there at 4-2. And then to go with his yellow card. And then Ryan Gauld gets a brace in the 58th to make it 4-3. And then people are trying to sit here and continue the chaos. But a 7-goal thriller with Cincinnati and Vancouver starts things off last night. NYC 2-1 over Columbus Crew. That one was at Scott's Miracle Grove Field. And that gets us to new stadium. NU. While it is, in fact, a new NEW stadium, it is also new stadium. So, Chicago goes to visit Messi and friends, and it's the rollout of Robert Lewandowski. We'll get into his numbers in a bit. So, you have possession early on from Messi and friends, and they're trying to build out of the back. And you have this moment. Jake and Taylor on the call, Apple TV and Major League Soccer.
5-3 win for the Chicago Fire on September 30th. It's a full-strength advantage.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. What a disaster. Swing and a miss from Raco Rios Novo. The MLS Cup winning goalkeeper put into the lineup out of the World Cup break.
At a very young age, you teach players that when you play the goalkeeper into an action, you always play the ball to the width of the goal in case the goalkeeper misses it or mistouches it. But this is inexplicable. Ian Frey passes the ball at a decent pace. That just can't happen. A little bit of pressure from Lewandowski, but a massive mistake from Rios Novo.
And so that was 1-0 on the own goal from Raco Rios Novo. And you go from that own goal to Luis Suarez from the spot in the 27th. He gets a brace in the 51st. Then you end up with Dejane scoring in the 67th minute. So it's 2-2. And in a lineup for Messi and friends that did not have either Rodrigo de Paul or Lionel Messi, and will not this weekend, Reguilon, Mikael, Ian Frey, Facundo Mora, your back four. Segovia, Yannick Bright, David Ruiz, your midfield three. Silvetti, Berterame, Luis Suarez, El Pistolero, that was your front three. Bench, Noah Allen, Dane St. Clair, Cesar Badia-Reda, Ian Urquidy, Daniel Pinter, Diego Rey, Daniel Samala, and Preston Plambeck. If you had Preston Plambeck on your fantasy team, good on you. It's a good, cheap pickup. And we just like saying Preston Plambeck.
A bit more precise in their counterattacking moments. I think it suits them. Sitting low in a block like this against Miami is not smart.
Oh, Suarez and Berterame again Brady to save. Plowed back. A dream moment for a hometown kid.
And allow them to find the game. Allow their difference makers to influence the game. Look at Bertarame, Suarez combining, finding that opportunity. Great little dummy. This is perfect center forward interplay. Combination opportunity. Brady saves it one time. But how about the homegrown in the right spot at the right time in only his 4th MLS appearance? What a big moment. You always remember your first. Planback with his first goal. Miami 3-2 at home.
And that's your final 3-2. Lewandowski, by the way, 62 minutes. And 16 of 17 passing at 94%, had 1 block shot, 27 touches. Touches inside the Messi and Friends 18. He had 4, 2 passes into the final third, 1 for 2 on the dribble, had a long ball to his credit, dispossessed 1 time, 3 defensive contributions, 3 clears, and he was 3 of 7 on his duels. He committed the 2 fouls on the night. So Lewandowski, welcome to Major League Soccer. He played 62 minutes. So Preston Plambeck, I did not have that on the bingo card. Preston Plambeck gets the game winner in the 87th. Messi and Friends continue their ways and get full points with the 3-2 win at home at New Stadium. I always want to put the article in there. My mom being the English major, I always want to put the new stadium. While that would be correct, it is New Stadium is the new stadium. My mom would probably get on me. Happy birthday, Mom, by the way. New England, Toronto, a goalless draw. Philadelphia, where did this Philadelphia team come from? Was Kai Wagner that much of a difference? Milan Olaski scores in the 9th. Cade Cowell evens it in the 38th. Indiana Vasilev in the 57th, and then Pierre scores in the Neil Pierre scores in the 66th. 3-1. Where did this offense come from? Ryan Richter gets his first goal, gets his first win in charge of the first team there in Philly. But 3 goals from Philadelphia. Did not have that on the card. Did not have that on the card at all. But Philadelphia gets a win at home, 3-1 over Red Bulls. Do we raise the collective eyebrow on Red Bulls now after what we saw coming out of the World Cup break? Mentioned Charlotte, Atlanta. Houston and D.C. with our friend Casey D. Casey White and Christian Miles were on the call for that one. And Houston and D.C., you end up with the win, the sharing of the points there. Ache scores in the 40th. KCD had mentioned Ty Barabo. He scored with 12 to go. 1-1 draw, hell in a shell. That was how that one wrapped up. Kansas City over Minnesota 2-1. Kansas City might be figuring some things out under Rafa Vicky. David Lee, their sporting director, still wants to bring in about 92 other players. But Kansas City seems to have figured it out, at least in the short term, at home. The Bishop, Dejan Joveljic, scores in the 28th. And then you end up with a goal from Manu Garcia in the 54th, 2-0 lead. Devin Padelford scores with 15 to go. Minnesota can't get any closer. 2-1 your final in Kansas City. Nashville goes on, and they keep winning. They knock off Montreal at Geodis by the final of 1-0. And Sam Surridge from the spot. And this is another one. I don't know what I've been told, but this PK, if there was a call and that was called a PK on Surridge, for Surridge, and I'm like, no way. Didn't even touch him. So I think Marcus de Oliveira was the man in the middle for this one. And so Surridge, fall down, go boom, converts the PK, 1-0 your final with 22 to go. And thank you, Abby. And happy birthday also to ATLUTD fan Steve Reed. Thank you for that. So, yeah, it was another one of those where you're sitting there and you're going, yeah, really? And apparently so. And so Surridge, fall down, go boom, get the PK. Nashville wins at 1-0. Austin over Seattle 3-1, and this will be the lead, obviously, when Nico joins us in about 15 minutes. And I think 4 in a row now for Seattle. I think it's the longest losing streak in Brian Schmetzer's history as as manager. I think this is his longest. And hang on, I'm trying to figure out now, where was my email here? Perhaps, possibly, perhaps not there. I don't think. Was it here? Yeah. Okay. So 4th consecutive regular season defeat. First time in Brian Schmetzer's decade-long tenure that the club has lost 4 in a row. Outscored 11-2 over the stretch. Jackson Reagan gets a late red, and so he's going to miss what's going to happen on the weekend. Colorado shuts out San Diego. I can't, if they lose, I can't quite say it as our friend Adrian Garcia Marquez. Loic Williams gets a winner at 90+6. So Colorado gets the Duke there over San Diego FC on the road. And then that lends us to the other starts that were late, massively late. St. Louis over LAG, and Furuhashi is inbound for LAG, and they're going to need him, considering they got rid of with Gabriel Peck heading to South America on the $8 million transfer. LAG gets a goal from Lucas McNaughton, gets another one from Marcel Hartel Holiday Inn. 2-0 at the break. Garces gets a red card. I think it was a second yellow in the 49th. And so he gets a yellow at 45+2. Then he comes back early part of the second half, and he gets his second yellow. So from the 49th minute on, 41 minutes plus, LAG was playing with 10. You're not going to have Garces for the weekend. So St. Louis gets another goal in the second half. Simon Becher, he scores with about 20 to go, 3-1 all caps over LAG, and Elgersma scores in the 86th for the goal for Troy Elgersma scores. He'd been in for 12 minutes, gets the goal to make it 3-1 at that point, and that was your final 3-1. St. Louis City with a big win on the road, taking out LAG. Like I said, I don't think they can wait for any longer for Furuhashi-san to come in to be a part of that offense there for Greg Vanney. LAFC over Real Salt Lake. That one was 3-1. Goal from Sun Young-min in the 11th. Denny Bouanga with the Ozzie Smith flip in the 40th. And then it was an own goal by DeAndre Yedlin. Cross was attempted from the right-hand side. I want to say just outside the 18. Yedlin is trying to slide. And as he's sliding, his angle, when the ball contacts him, goes straight through into the near post at 3-0. But we did have a moment for someone that we all know. And it happened late in the match, 3-0 at this point. Max and Dunny on the call on Apple TV.
Piling up corner kicks, that has to be a goal. Saba, Engel, deflected it in. Real Salt Lake have their goal. They have a little time to make it interesting. They certainly deserve it with the pile-up of chances. Finally one breaks through.
On 2 different occasions should have found the back of the net. Now it's Lucas Engel, takes it down really well with his chest. It's a deflection, smacks it with the laces of his left foot. But watching Kosei Tafari as he comes across, the redirect up into the upper left-hand corner, kills the spider webs. Nothing that Hugo Lloris can do, and RSL pulls one back in the 86th minute.
And then we had to do that because Saba got the assist off the corner kick. At least he should have anyway. So it's 3-1. LAFC with the win. It was 3-0. Engel gets the goal in the 86th off the Kosi Tafari deflection. 3-1 your final. And LAFC gets full points. RSL on the road. Portland and Dallas, a 2-2 final there. And then Orlando and San Jose in MLS After Dark. It was the beginning of an era. I feel like the only thing missing is like the trumpet fanfare and all this kind of stuff. Beginning of an era for the purple team. So, of course, the guys got to score, right?
The 2 in midfield, they know they have to match up with the 2 against them, and Brian Ojeda and Edward Atuesta. It's a poor giveaway.
Yeah, Ellis into the path of Griezmann, opens up and scores! His first in Major League Soccer and a milestone career goal as well. That is number 300 across international and club games for that man, Antoine Griezmann.
Decent spell to start the second half off. It's just a really careless giveaway from Ricketts. Good pressure from Orlando City, but this little giveaway, and I love the presence of mind from Justin Ellis, a player that he grew up idolizing. He provides the first assist for Antoine Griezmann, who dispatches this finish so well. Sidesteps the defender, the calmest of finishes, so much composure in the final third. Nothing Angus Gunn in goal can do to deny the number 7 shirt from getting his first in Major League Soccer.
Griezmann scores. Purple team wins in San Jose. San Jose put up a clunker last night. So that was the rundown of all of the matches. We do have some reports and things to get into. You've also got, hang on just a second, I want to do this in order here. FC Dallas has signed 15-year-old Y&T attacker Benji Flowers to a homegrown deal, plus a pre-agreed transfer to Chelsea when he turns 18, according to sources. I'm going to say this right now. Stop sending your kids to Chelsea. Don't do it. I know FCD, basically, this is like a sign-in trade. And you signed him, and then, Chelsea's interested. Now, and the amount of which I'm wondering if it fluctuates because of in-game accomplishments or what have you. Performance-based metrics is what I was looking for. But don't send your kids to Chelsea. Just don't. You're going to be like one of 900. Benji Flowers goes walking in 2.5 years, and he'll go to the training ground at Chelsea, and it's like when you go into your favorite dessert place and it's crowded and they have to activate the numbers machine. You got to take the ticket. Benji Flowers probably at this rate would be like number 428. And he's waiting for his assignment to Strasbourg or whatever, because, unless he's gangbusters in the next 2.5 years, he's probably going to somewhere else in the chain of Bowley Clear Lake. Don't send your kids to Chelsea. Don't do it. Don't do it, people. And I say, and I'm saying this just in general. I'm not saying it because of the idea of I'm not a Chelsea person. We can look at the evidence from Caleb Wiley. Injuries aside, we can still look at what, Caleb Wiley, or literally all Chelsea wants. What all Chelsea wants to do, they want to have all the toys. That's all they want. They want all the toys. And, they go wandering into, they go wandering into like FAO Schwartz or Sharper Image or whatever. I guess it would fit if it was Chelsea and Sharper Image. And it's like, well, I want the radio controlled helicopter. I want the vibrating chair. I want the lava lamp. They literally go into a frickin' Sharper Image, and they want to buy everything, even if they don't need it. So Chelsea apparently is picking up Benji Flowers at the time he turns 18 on basically a sign and trade or a sign and flip with FCD. I mean, I hope it's good money for FCD for their own coffers. But seriously, stop sending your kids to Chelsea. Just don't do it. I need the more you know drop. That's what I need. But literally, just don't do it. Just stop. 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 Just don't do it. Ugh. Anyway, okay. So you got that one on the board. And then also NYCFC is nearing a loan-to-buy deal for 20-year-old Palmeiras forward Luigi, GHI. Includes a $300,000 loan fee through 2026 and a $6 million purchase option. And this comes as the club rejected an $18 million bid for Nicolas Fernandez Mercado, who has requested a transfer. Colorado Rapids center back Lucas Harrington at 18 became the youngest Australian, youngest MLS player to start a World Cup match, returned to Colorado after starting against Paraguay. Several top European clubs are reportedly showing transfer interest. That's from the Denver Post. We mentioned Furuhashi and LAG, signing him on a non-DP deal from Birmingham City through the 30-31 season. 86 goals for Celtic, struggled in the championship, expected to replace the injured Joao Klaus as the big finisher there. We mentioned Griezmann scoring his first goal in his debut. Atuesta had 3 assists. Maxime Crépeau had 3 saves for the purple team for their first league shutout since June. And I am going to get into the Casemiro situation with our buddy Niko Moreno. So here's the deal for Casemiro, if you missed it. So it was announced yesterday that Casemiro was signed, sealed, everything's cool. Yeah, we're booking and going, and everything's all right as rain with him and with Messi and friends. But then you get the notice yesterday at the time of the signing. You get this notice. Let me see if I can find where my Messi and friends notes are from yesterday. So that's the notes from the match. Casemiro. Okay, so, and this is literally the timing of the releases. I'm going to check the release time. So at 12:22 yesterday, we got a note from Major League Soccer. At 12:22, you also get a note from Inter Miami. And it might have been seconds or whatever, but the MLS communication actually came first in my inbox. Second note, Messi and friends signed Casemiro. Extension option, well, it's through the conclusion of the sprint season, extension option until June of 29. So it would be this season, sprint season, 27-28, extension option. Oh, so it would be through the sprint season, and then they can sit there and go, yeah, we want to extend the option for 27-28 and 28-29, pending receipt of his P1 visa. Comments from Jorge Mas, decorated career, 3, 6, 7 paragraphs. Casemiro picked up as a free through the sprint season conclusion. Extensions until June 29. So it's through this season, the sprint season, with options for 2 more. And in the transaction, it says, Inter Miami CF acquired Casemiro's discovery priority from the LA Galaxy. In the queue, I had to go back one email from Major League Soccer Communications. MLS is reviewing a tampering allegation against Inter Miami CF. League is gathering all relevant information. Will refrain from further comment until the review is complete. While Inter Miami CF and the LA Galaxy have reached a settlement for the discovery priority to sign Casemiro, the terms will be released upon conclusion of the tampering investigation. So, tampering alleged or investigated, tampering allegations against Inter Miami. And it was a complaint from the LAG. LAG had his discovery rights and were in active negotiations with him before he expressed a desire to join Miami. And Major League Soccer is withholding the terms of the settlement until the investigation is complete. And so with MLS, now this is from Tommy Scoops at The Athletic, Tom Bogert. Accused of tampering for allegedly circumventing the discovery rights in Major League Soccer. And we know what discovery rights are. It's dibs. It's dibs. That's all it is. It's silly. It's dibs. And it's a way to put a price tag on somebody that you got dibs on. Even if you might have no interest, might not have any interest in signing the player long term. You've got his dibs. You've got his dibs rights. So therefore, you can sit there and hold a price tag over the dibs rights if somebody really wants them. So, hey, what's it worth to you? That's literally what discovery rights are. It's dibs. LAG had dibs on Casemiro. Casemiro expresses an interest of going to go play in Miami. Tampering allegation coming from LAG to the league office about circumventing the discovery rights idea. But he said he wanted to play with them, and he doesn't want to play with us. League, hello, help us out. We got dibs on Casemiro. But he says publicly, I want to go play with Messi. Then you figure out a fee, and it's all done. LAG, none the poorer. They had dibs rights on Casemiro. Casemiro says, I want to go play in Miami. How different is that from any other athlete in any other sport? I don't want to play with this team. I want to trade. I'm going to sit. I want to trade. So you have that going on. Teams can put up to 6 players on their discovery lists. I'm just going to call it dibs. I mean, for lack of anything better, it's dibs. I'm sorry. Teams can put up to 6 players on their dibs if multiple teams make claims for the same players allocated to lists on a first-come, first-served basis. LAG had dibs, meaning no other MLS team could make contact with the player while they were in negotiations. League's investigating LAG's claim that Miami circumvented the rule. According to Bogert, yes, Galaxy were in negotiations with Casemiro, felt confident about signing him until the player expressed he wanted to join Inter Miami instead. Recent example. Remember Marco Reus? LAG seems to be at the focus of all of these. Remember Marco Reus? Remember who had his dibs rights? Charlotte. You think for a second and a half, Marco Reus wanted a tinker's dam to do with anything in Charlotte? No offense to you, Charlotte. But would Marco Reus want anything to do with Charlotte? Coming over here to Major League Soccer, would he want anything to do with it? I'm guessing not. So basically what you do, if you're Charlotte, you dibsed Marco Reus. And so then LAG signed him, making him an offer that made him a DP, wound up signing on a non-DP deal, meaning Charlotte offered more, but the player wanted to be in LA. Galaxy had to pay $400,000 in GAM in order for the chance to sign him, and according to Bogert, that is what he thinks to be a record for that kind of a transaction. Typically, discovery rights, according to Bogert, traded for a more standard $50,000 GAM fee, but if rights holding teams make a genuine attempt to sign the player, a slightly larger fee can be negotiated. As long as the club is viewed to make a, quote, genuine offer, they're not required to relinquish the rights. We do know that there has been a settlement between LAG and Messi and Friends, reaching a settlement for the discovery priority to sign Casemiro, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Casemiro and the idea of LAG sitting there going, well, we wanted to sign Casemiro. We had dibs. We wanted to sign Casemiro. Did Casemiro say he wanted to come and play for you at any part of the negotiation? A player and his agent grouping, entourage, whatever, I would imagine that they have the prerequisite or they can change their mind. Nah, I'm not feeling it anymore. And then literally, this is all you've got to do is create plausible deniability in all of this. If Casemiro is like, just not feeling it. I appreciate everything we were doing, but I'm just not feeling it anymore. I want to go play in Inter Miami. That's basically it. So do not be surprised at the end of this investigation, you have some kind of plausible deniability involving Messi and Friends and Casemiro and his non-desire to go play at LAG. LAG gets paid probably more than the $400,000 that they had to pay Charlotte so they could get Marco Reus. So the dibs rule in general is silly. Because literally you could sit there and go, well, I want discovery rights on Jude Bellingham, and I want discovery rights on Kylian Mbappe, and I want discovery rights on Michael Olise, and I want discovery rights on, you name a player. I mean, Vozinha. You could get dibs on any dudes as up to 6. You could get dibs on dudes. As silly as this is, it is from a moment when you're sitting at a table and you're going, I think we should have dibs on Marco Royce. I think we should do that. And so Charlotte puts Marco Royce on a dibs list. In Major League Soccer parlance, it's called discovery rights. I'm going to bring Niko in. It's that time. Niko, I've been venting about discovery rights this morning because of the Casemiro situation. And I was explaining to people, basically, it's dibs. You remember when we're growing up and we're like at either at the store or we're, looking at food, and it's like, I want to sit in the passenger seat of the car. I've got dibs on the passenger seat. I've got dibs on shotgun. I've got dibs on dessert. I've got dibs on this. That's basically what discovery rights are. It's dibs. And you have a situation with Casemiro where he is signed with Messi and friends after LAG had dibs on him. And now Major League Soccer is investigating the dibs and the possible subversion of the idea of discovery rights for Casemiro now that he signed with Inter Miami, that he was on the dibs list of LAG. It's a dumb rule. It's an old rule, and it's driving me crazy. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't surprise me if, look, LAG got a number. They're happy with the number, and Messi and friends might, have to have some less numbers on their dibs list going forward at the end of this investigation. It's a dumb rule, and we're having to be subjected to it again.
Hey, what's going on, John? Happy to be on, of course. I hear you. I hear your frustration for sure. Look, is it a dumb rule? Yes. Is it old, antiquated? Does it need to go? There's a very good argument to be had that it is. But at the end of the day, it's a rule. So if you have agreed to it previously, and this sort of arrangements is what I like to call it, between owners of clubs in various leagues, maybe not like this one, but there are arrangements and rules that owners agree to. And if you agree to it, then you got to follow by that rule. They're all under the same playing field, and that's what I want to make sure that it gets clarified, right? I mean, you can't complain about talking to a player without first arranging that conversation with the club if those are the rules, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what happens. So
yeah,
I don't love it. I really think that there's a lot of rules in MLS actually that need to go and that need to be modernized, simplified. But don't give me a pity party. Don't cry about it. If you knew what you were kind of going for, you knew exactly what you were getting into when you decided to be part of the MLS. And so for a team like Inter Miami that usually gets their way, well, hey, so sorry if you're getting some scrutiny and some pushback just because that's just the way of the world. I mean, it's like that firstborn of yours that you've been saying yes to forever because he was the only one, and now he's got to share the toys, and now so he doesn't like it. That's my only grief with it, that Inter Miami is now one that should be complaining about absolutely anything. I understand why people don't love the rule, and it is a dumb rule.
Yeah, and I mean, literally, if Casemiro at the end of the day, he's dibsed out to LAG, and he's like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it, fam. And then something magically happens where, or you sit there and you say, and we've seen it in contract negotiations before, hey, yeah, I want to go play with Inter Miami. All LAG's got to do is sit there and go, yeah, okay, cool. And then charge, out the yin yang to Inter Miami, and they'll pay the fee, and Casemiro goes over anyway. So if there's plausible deniability at the end of the day, LAG is going to get a massive number, and that to me, it's just this whole thing drives me nuts because dibs is dumb. And honestly, if a guy says I don't want to negotiate anymore, I don't want to be here, then just let it go and let it happen. And just the arcane nature of the rules is what's killing me here.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean,
I know.
let me play devil's advocate here. How would you feel if other people are benefiting off of this dumb rule that you decided to put on, that just by putting a name on a list, I can get X amount of GAM or whatever draft pick, or any sort of resource that I need for my club, and then all of a sudden somebody else is just going around it, and I all of a sudden don't get that resource when I see that name that I decided to put on here, So it's again, it's not, the problem is not the situation, is the rule that needs to change. And that's all. I mean, MLS slowly needs to start getting away from all of this, their own mythology on how to run things, because it does make things complicated. And I think all owners need to go back to the drawing board and say, look, how can we make this better? How can we come up with another funny arrangement that we all feel like we're happy with, and move past it?
Yeah. Speaking of moving past it, first time ever in Brian Schmetzer's tenure, 4 losses in a row. And obviously, last week we had to kind of keep an eye on Jordan Morris and his injury situation and schedule compression and injuries on the whole. And now it looks like Jordan's out for a month. And you throw up a clunker in Texas last night for the 4th straight loss. What is the is everybody gripping? What's the vibe with 4 losses in a row now?
It's not just the 4 losses, John. It's a team that seems to be on a slight free fall. A group that at one point we were praising for their high floor and their depth, next man up mentality, and all of a sudden that's starting to look dull, and that's starting to not look as deep as you once thought, or talented, or able to just be resilient, as this team has been called before. So it is concerning, because it's not just one thing. The team started playing some really good defense, grinding out some games this season. That's no longer the case. I mean, the team has given up, right? I mean, a absorbent amount of goals off of the last 4 games, right? So it's not the defense. Offensively, they have not been able to put things together. Your DPs, or not even DPs, your most important players are not performing to that top level. You have some DPs that are even unavailable. And now the Jordan Morris situation compounds a problem that now front office needs to figure out, how do they move away from? How do they fix it, right? Because once you look at Jordan Morris, someone who I appreciate, who I've been an advocate for, who's been a pillar of success of this team, the young homegrown talent, the hometown kid that everyone loves, top scorer of all time, all accolades and flowers and to go to him. But now at his age, with his injury history, I understand fans running out of patience. And I just think that some harsh decisions need to be made, right? We heard from Brian Schmetzer after the beatdown, the embarrassing performance against the Portland Timbers, where he said, look, I'm not even shaving, I'm not eating, that really hurt me. And now it was another performance where the team, they showed more fight. They did. They started that game off at least with the right intensity, or at least they got into that game. They were able to equalize. I thought that they were a lot more true to their identity than they were obviously against the Timbers. But then it all unravels there at the end, and you're unable to play 90. And it's very simple mistakes. And once again, does that call for issues with depth? Because you bring in Paul Arriola, you bring Kalani Casarienzi, and look, Paul Arriola is culpable for 2 of those goals, including the one where he has a negligent pass that gets picked up in your own third. There's a quick set of passes, and all of a sudden you give up a goal, right? And those are the situations where, if this team is supposed to be a contender, you have to be able to fix those. and you find yourself in a situation where you don't even know if there's going to be big time reinforcements that are going to be coming to this team. Now, I think that there will be at least one acquisition. How much impact or how influential that is, that's to be determined. But at the end of the day, this sort of results are unacceptable, and it starts to shed a light into issues that maybe were there, that were kind of looked over because the team was getting wins and getting results. And when Craig Weibel and Brian last season and at the beginning of this season are saying, hey, look, we just won a Leagues Cup, we continue to win, we're getting points, so things are going well. When those results are not going your way, then you are open market to be criticized in that fashion. So it's really a difficult moment for the organization. I think that the group is beat down, and they have another away game against Philadelphia. Then after that, they got Portland away. Then they got Toluca, the hardest playing CONCACAF to play. So it's a difficult road for a team that's going to have to snap out of it. And maybe getting some players healthy does that. Christian Roldan hopefully comes back at some point soon, although I still think he's about 3 weeks out. Yammer Gomez Andrade is the closest one to getting back, but it's definitely looking murky here in the PNW.
You look at how the lineup was squared away last night. I mean, you also had a shorter than normal bench because you had 2 keepers as a part of your sub pattern. So it was Thomas and Net, back 4 of Nuhu, Hawkins, Jackson Reagan, and Kingston. Those were your back 4. Then the 2 in front of them, Brunel and Hassani Dotson. We talked about Hassani getting minutes. Then the 3 attacking mids, Rothrock, Rusnak, and Jesus Ferreira with Musovski up top. And now with the red that happened at 90+5 after you give up the 2 goals in 6 minutes to Azuni and Ramirez, Jackson Reagan gets a red. You're not going to have him in Philly on the weekend. So if you thought you were shorthanded going into the match last night in Austin, it's going to be even worse at a key position at center back when you're going to Philly, who scored 3 goals for the first time, I think, since 1928 last night when they knocked off Red Bull. So it's going to be a head scratcher on a bunch of different fronts.
And the crazy part is that all these teams are, mid-table teams at best that you're losing to, interim head coaches, which, yes, I know you get the new coach bump and all this, that, and the other, but the issue is not the opposition. The issue is the Sounders and rooted problems that need to be taken out, like weeds on your yard. You got to be able to pick those up and figure it out how you're going to make sure that you put the right chemicals on top of it so they don't grow again. And so, look, Jackson Reagan last night, I mean, talk about compounding problems. I mean, you're already down in the score. You already got a yellow where just with that yellow alone, you were missing out on the game. And then on a transition play that maybe a technical foul could be allowed, you brutally and almost, like we say in Spanish, mala leche, you come at the attacking player and you get a red card where now you're going to be missing more than one game. You just make the team look bad. And still, there was going to be that loss. There was going to be that same result. So it's just hard for me to understand that a player that is supposed to be one of your experienced players, especially in that back line, especially without Yammer Gomez Andrade, commits those sort of fouls. Even the young guys, right? We have, or I have, and many here in the PNW have, we have all been high on Snyder Burnell, and rightfully so. He's been really good. He's a talented player. I, however, have been telling people, relax a bit. Let's not start comparing him with Obed, as that's the narrative, and how he's going to be this guy that's already there when maybe he's not. Couple of bad performances, including in this one. Brian, after the game, called him out a little bit and said, look, he needs to get back into a certain form that he was at one point, right? So those sort of situations are the problems when you're playing with a team that has made some of these aspects go their way, right? younger players coming in, performing, finding little diamonds in the rough, like Peter Kingston and all those things. Whenever those players cannot give you that talent level that is high enough to compete with other teams, that's when things start to look real difficult for you and make your decision making, not just of right now, but of what you've been doing, questionable, right? So how do you fix it? I don't know. The striker position continues to be not found. You know, you tried the Nimasovsky, nothing. You try Osasa Rosario, nothing. Jorah Morris is out. There's nowhere else to look. So all of those issues, I think we have seen glimpses of. But now, when this sort of scandalous results come about, it just makes things look even worse. So yes, it's a situation where Brian's going to have to figure something out, where the front office is going to have to figure out, or people are going to start getting let go. I mean, right now there are a ton of fans that are so upset that they're just looking for harsh decisions, whether it's at the coaching level, whether it's, you know, at the GM level. I mean, the fan base is extremely frustrated with the situation.
And for those that may not know the situation when it comes to front office officials and Seattle, this is something that, and you mentioned the fans, and this is why I wanted to have this go over this again for folks that may not know. This is a decision that front office appointments and renewals and things, they are up to the all hands general meeting of all of the stakeholders there. This is a public decision that is endorsed one way or the other. So for those that do not remember or have not remembered what this process is that you got to be making all the right decisions to keep your job, because you got a lot of fans who are active in this process to determine whether or not you get to keep your job.
Absolutely. And look, there's a lot of discourse about Craig Weibel, because obviously he is the face when it comes to roster decisions, but the backing of that, the resources that he's given, is also a problem. Look, this is a Jeremiah O'Shan stat, so I'm not going to take credit for it, but since 2022, the Sounders are 30th in spending of transfer budget over that period from 2022 to now. It is about $9 million from 2022 to now. That includes GAM and other sort of transfers. It's not just cash or just direct transfers. That is extremely low budget. And in that budget, I mean, $6 million of that went to Pedro de la Vega, a player that unfortunately, yes, he's shown glimpses of being a really, really good player, but he's unavailable. And sometimes the best attribute of any DP is being available. So I don't want to put everything on Craig. I think that there is a problem, and there has been a problem with a lack of resources going into this team. And fans are asking questions. Where is the money of the Club World Cup? Where is the money of Leagues Cup Championship? Where are all those, you know, big prices money going to? When, you know, I personally asked Adrian before Club World Cup if any of that money was going to go back into the team, not just on the operation side, but to the roster itself. And he said, yes, that money is going to go there. So I have a lot of questions, and I'm going to ask him whenever the time comes and I'm allowed to do so. But I want to clarify something.
Mm-hmm.
This is no different than what I've been saying since last season, when in the summer window, nothing was done to add more talent to this team. I'm not sitting here telling the front office or anyone that the way to get the Sounders team back into glory is blowing a whole bunch of money on a 30-plus-year-old winger or like Mo Salah, or bringing in a Lewandowski, or spending money on a Griezmann. No, that's not what I'm asking. What I'm saying is just add more talent, use your resources, bring in players like you used to. The Loderos, the Raul Ruidias says that they weren't global stars before they came here. They were very, very good players, excellent players, but they weren't those big names. You weren't bringing in your European, you know, retirees or the big names that were going to put butts in seats, because you don't need butts in seats. You have a loyal fan base that consistently watches you, but you do need players that are going to come in and perform and make your team better. And that's what just hasn't been done in a very long time.
And that's obviously this is like year 2 since you brought this in last year. I guess we're now in year 2 of trying to track down, and follow your ideas here when it comes to all the revenue that comes in, where the revenue goes. Does it help the process out? Does it go to infrastructure? How much of it goes to bringing in players and increasing salaries and making sure that you stay under the cap and you're compliant and all these other kinds of things? And how much of it goes to the Providence and Swedish light bulb factory and push-up tent? We got to, make sure that you have the best facilities that are around too. Also out west, it was mixed results on a couple of things. San Diego puts up a clunker. LAG put up a clunker. LAFC gets a win. Sonny gets at least temporarily untracked with the result that happened last night. And some dude named Griezmann, and this was the one that was shocking to me, is that the purple team goes out west. It's MLS After Dark. You're in San Jose, and you thump the Earthquakes. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, it was all Griezmann and all that, but I mean, no Griezmann, no party, and no 3 points. But you got a goal from him. You put 4 on San Jose at home, and it's like, welcome to Major League Soccer, dude.
No, great performance for Orlando as a team. And it wasn't perfect, regardless of the scoreline. Because, look, I think Maxime Crepeau heard all of our criticisms for him getting selected to the All-Star game out of nowhere, when I don't know how deserving that was. But he has the best performance of the season for Orlando. 6 saves. I thought that he made all the right saves at all the right times. He gave his team the ability to stay in the game and continue to perform and continue to move the ball well. I thought Atuesta was very good. Set pieces were great. So Orlando does the job. San Jose looked good in creativity and volume, but unable to put the ball in the back of the net. And defensively, there was a lot of problems. It wasn't just on set pieces, but just in their inability to kind of hold wide areas and some problems, some rest defense. So we'll continue to monitor San Jose. They're a team that I thought was winning above their weight class and winning above or what's expected of them. They have a good team. I don't want to say they don't, but I have been one of the few that maybe were not as high or didn't really believe that they could do it. I think that they're going to continue to be a contender. I just don't know if they're going to be running away with it. And this performance by Orlando kind of sets that pretty well. So credit to Orlando. I think Griezmann's going to be good. He looked very, very good, very involved. It wasn't just a goal, but just his off-ball movement. I thought that he fit in pretty well for a guy that, hasn't been there that long. So, credit to the coaching staff there for giving him the tools to succeed immediately. And Orlando's going to be interesting to watch.
Yep. A couple of things really quickly before we get into juice boxes for the weekend. As of 10 minutes ago, we had mentioned earlier in the show about Braille Mbolo being looked at by, and this is from our friends at The Athletic, Braille Mbolo being looked at by Chris Henderson and Atlanta United. Apparently, you can now add Darwin Nunez to that.
Oh.
Talks have commenced but are not yet advanced, according to sources to Bogert and Tenorio. Club is simultaneously negotiating with a few high-level targets, including Braille Mbolo. Atlanta, and they've mentioned financial power. They're talking about Latte Lot. Nunez is departing Al Hilal this summer after being left out of the squad when the team signed Karim Benzema. Saudi Arabian clubs can only register 8 foreign players. Nunez was dropped from the roster when Benzema signed. 6 + 4 in 16 matches before losing his place. Appearances with Uruguay at the World Cup this summer, his first competitive action since February. Previously featured for Liverpool, joining the club in 22 from Benfica for a fee worth about $90 million. Won a league title in England, 25 and 16, 95 Premier League appearances. Mbolo, currently with Rennes, featured for Switzerland. And he has 92 caps, 26 goals for his country. Ben Jacobs, we mentioned Ben Jacobs and his report on Mbolo, but apparently you can add, according to The Athletic, Darwin Nunez to the mix for Atlanta United. So Chris Henderson is not sitting on his hands now that the window is open, as the kids say.
And I trust Chris Henderson more than just about anyone because I've had the pleasure of knowing him for a very long time. But I do hope that having a infinitive budget and a wide open blank checkbook right next to you to do with it as you please does not keep him away from doing what he did so well here with the Sounders, which is looking at guys' intangibles and making sure that they fit into the locker room and that they fit the league and the system. Because I don't need to tell you, John, or your fan base how things haven't really worked out, spending $20 million or plus when it comes to just bringing in players.
Mm-hmm.
Darwin Nunez is a guy that in the locker room, he doesn't have raving reviews. And how does that work? I mean, he's a very talented player, but after I saw him jump into the crowd to punch Colombian fans in Charlotte in Copa America a couple of years ago, I don't know. He's a guy that I lost a lot of respect for. So we'll see. I mean, hopefully he come in and perform if that is the case. Mbolo is a really good one as well. So Atlanta just trying to get better after, last night they fought back and they rescued a point in Charlotte that, they needed pretty badly. But they continue to be a team that is a hard watch. I'm not going to lie to you, I end up fast forwarding through some of that game last night as I was trying to get to the LAFC game. That's the one I really wanted to pay attention to, as well as the Portland-Dallas, because I wanted to see the Santi Moreno going back to Portland game. And so, Atlanta, at least they get the point, and I hope that some of these acquisitions are the answer to get them back to their good old days.
All right, so a couple of juice boxes that I want you to stare at here. Early kick. I'm going to give you an early kick, Eastern Conference. 7:40 Eastern, Saturday night. Purple team hosting Nashville. Nashville is a plus 114 favorite. Draws a plus 290, and the purple team is a plus 210.
Ooh, it's a good game. I don't know if you're going to be able to bully this Nashville team the way that you bullied San Jose. I don't expect it to be a foot race in the way that this one was for the majority of it. I really like Nashville, but, I'm going to give Orlando its due credit. And I'm going to go with the draw on that one. That one's calling my name. That's a nice little figure for that draw. If there is a 2.5, I take that as well. I think a 2-2 draw would be, a decent score for this particular game. But I like the draw on that one.
All right, so 2.5 is minus 167. So they're expecting a lot of goals in this one. 3.5 is plus 150. It actually flips at 3 for even money.
Oh, yeah. Well, I like it. It just definitely, I don't know if I want to go that high. Not that, a little too rich for my blood. But I do like the draw on this one. I think that, Nashville, they didn't look as dominant against Montreal when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net. But I also think Orlando, in the way they set up, like you saw last night, there was a lot of opportunities. Just Crepeau had a really, really good game. But when it comes to just playing central and playing a little bit tighter in some of those triangles that you try to make, I think Nashville, thanks to BJ Calhoun, is really, really good at that. And I think that they're going to be able to really break down Orlando. Again, I really don't expect this to be like those games that we had last night that are like that Cincinnati game where it's just goal after goal. But I do expect maybe a 2-2. So I like that draw.
Okay. Then what do you think happens with your early game when you go to Philly? You're a dog at a plus 225 if you're Seattle. Draws a plus 270. Philly favored at home, the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference, toward the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference. They are the bottom of the table in the Eastern Conference at a plus 112. Favored at home. They've got bottom of the table in the East taking on Seattle, who's a plus 2.25.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one at all, but I really don't see Seattle winning this game. I mean, there is just too many injuries, too many absences. The Jackson Rager thing is huge. Now you might be forced, as you mentioned earlier today, to play with Tino and Stu Hawkins, who Stu had a decent game, but, you still, it's very obvious there's a little green in the gills, and physicality can be difficult, especially against a team like Philadelphia. They just got their first win at home too, so that was another one where I was kind of looking for that from Philadelphia. So they were able to get going. They got some players back after the break. So I don't think Seattle has. I don't know if they've ever won in Philadelphia or they haven't won in a very long time. But regardless of, I'm not touching this one. I think Seattle has a lot of real questions to be asked themselves before this game. Is a short turnaround. I just think Philadelphia wins that game.
And then last one I've got for you is Cali Classico, late night Saturday in San Jose. LAG comes to town. They're a big dog at a plus 300, draws a plus 330. San Jose is a minus 118.
Yeah, that's another one that I don't ever feel comfortable enough to put anything on. I think San Jose does have a very good opportunity to shake off that 4-0 loss against Orlando. The Galaxy, man. Oh, man. How does Garces get a red card that's so naive and so, that's something that kids out here in the high school right in front of me don't do. Like, you have a yellow. Why in the world are you trying to kick the ball off of a quick free kick? I just don't get it. Like, what goes through your mind to set your team back that far? And it wasn't just that. I mean, from the 4th minute or 5th minute, St. Louis was on top of you. And they did not allow you to breathe. And it seemed like this Galaxy team has become very reactive. And they don't play well when they're reactive. And against San Jose, a team that has such a distinct way of moving the ball, I just think they're going to have a hard time. So I do have San Jose. Maybe the goals. What's the goal compost on it? But I'm definitely not putting money on the winner, but maybe on the goals.
3.5 is where it flips at a plus 104 and goes up from there.
3.5.
Plus 104. 3.5 is plus 104.
How about 4.5?
Plus 240.
Give me the 4.5. I'm taking the 4.5. Okay. I'm taking the 4.5. Locking it in.
There you go.
Locking it in.
All right.
And what about Portland, Salt Lake? That's a fun one. That's one that I thought was going to be interesting in the juice box.
Yep, Marty Cifuentes now taking over in Portland. He's a favorite at home at a plus 145. Draws a plus 290. RSL is a slight dog at a plus 165.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like the draw on that one as well.
Okay.
I think that's a good one that I wouldn't mind putting a draw on. Man, I kind of like some of these.
Big draw numbers this weekend.
Yeah, look, our RSL got punched in the face early by a LAFC team that I think is out with something to prove. I think Mark Dos Santos got this team ready to go right off the bat. Sonny did not have a great World Cup, and as soon as he walked into this locker room and into the first game of league play, he scored a goal. He got his second last night after the break. I think they're running in all cylinders. Oh, by the way, that second goal by LAFC, where they pick up the ball halfway through the field, they drop it back all the way to Lloris, is a 10-piece setup. Just perfect pass into Denny Bouanga, through ball. I mean, they play short, then they go long. Absolutely beauty from LAFC. Really like what they're doing. So I think this was more RSL being unprepared for this LAFC team, but I still like RSL. So I think that this is going to be a fun one against Portland, who also showed some fight last night. So I do like that draw.
All right. Hit me with the promo. What's going on that folks need to know about?
Absolutely. We are going to be doing what we learned this week tomorrow with Jeremiah O'Shan. Lots to talk about because we're going to clearly break down that game that was here against Austin. We're going to try to get some players in and talk to some of the players before the next game. We'll see how that works out with the availability that we might be able to get, but we'll definitely break up the preview as well of the trip to Philadelphia. And so make sure that you check that out. On Monday, we're going to do kickoff with Ari Livenwall on Love and Scorchers. As always, we'll break down the week that was. mainly focus on the Sounders in the West Coast. So if you like that, go ahead and check that out. And then in Pulso Sports, whatever we're able to gather throughout the week in terms of some of these availabilities with the Sounders, you could find that there. So yeah, man, that's about it.
As always, my friend, it's great to see you here on Thursdays as you're repping the Palouse as you always do. And we will catch up with you after a very, very busy week and a weekend. See you in 167 and a half hours. We'll see you in a bit.
I got you, big man. Take it easy. Thank you.
There he goes, Niko Moreno, Pulso Sports, Sounder at Heart. And that's the rundown. A couple of other things. We're going to check our sources one final time before we get out of here. Check all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Remember, Sudamericana again tonight, I think. I'll double check it. But looks like, according to Tom Bogert, the Revs are nearing a deal to sign Jack Harrison from Leeds United. He's going to join as a DP. 219 appearances for Leeds, 29 years old, spent the second half of last year on loan at Fiorentina. And involving Atlanta United, we got a little bit of this. And it's got to do with Atlanta United 2. Announced this morning as of how many minutes ago? 11 minutes ago. The Twos are going to be playing the remaining home matches this year at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Final 2 matches of July, August 14th through 22nd. The first match in September. So, with that announcement, the first match this Sunday, 11 a.m., closed to the public, but it's going to remain available to watch on broadcast. You can also hopefully listen to it on SDH. We're going to try and figure out how if we can be a part of that on Sunday morning. Maddie and I will be up there. We'll just figure out what the dynamics are. After that, on July 26th, all future matches open to the public, no charge. Fans required to display a valid ticket upon entry. Tickets are limited, first come, first served basis, following the Ticketmaster link on the Twos website. Parking for ticketed matches off-site. More information announced soon. Entry into the facility conditional upon adherence to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium bag policy and list of prohibited items. And all matches, once again, remaining on One Football, MLS Next Pro YouTube channel, and matches open to the media, etc. Remaining matches in 26 for Atlanta United 2's MLS Next Pro regular season schedule. The 26th, Sunday morning at 11. Then Friday the 31st at 4. Friday, August 14th at 4 o'clock. Tuesday, 11 a.m., August the 18th. Saturday, August 22nd is at 1 o'clock. Tuesday, September the 8th is at 2 o'clock. And then they have the 4 road games that are left on the schedule. So I've got to print this out so I can be as up-to-date as I can. But, so your start times, once again, for the Twos, it's going to be 11 o'clock this Sunday morning. That is going to be a closed match, but you'll still be able to access it how you normally do. Friday the 31st, 4 o'clock, Carolina Core. They're at Chattanooga. Friday the 14th, Red Bulls, 4 o'clock. Tuesday the 18th, 11 o'clock in the morning, Chicago Fire, 2. Saturday, 11 o'clock. Saturday, August 22nd, Orlando City be at 1 o'clock. Friday, Friday, August 28th, they're in Fort Lauderdale. Tuesday, September 8th, home match against Connecticut United. That is at 2 o'clock, and then they finish the season at Chattanooga and at Orlando City B. So 5 of the next 6 at home. 6 home matches left in the season of the 10 matches that remain. Sunday morning, close to the public. Everyone else, every other matchup is not, but you've got to adhere to the MBS policies for clear bag, and you've got to get your tickets from Ticketmaster. You've got to have a valid ticket wandering in the door, but it's free. So that's what it's going to look like for Atlanta United 2 for the remainder of this year, and obviously we're going to continue covering the Twos. That doesn't stop. Change of location does not stop our coverage of the Twos, but obviously when we have our coverage plans, we will, and our broadcast plans will let you know. So that's the rundown. So 6 final home matches for Atlanta United 2 are going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, 26th, 31st, August 14, 18, 22, and September 8. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground free of charge. The NYCFC match coming up this Sunday morning is closed door. Everyone else is not. So that is that's the rundown of that. So those matches for Atlanta United 2, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, and we will obviously continue our coverage for the 2s going forward. But that came out this morning as well. Okay, so now let's get you into all of the gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all the things. And keep an eye out once again. Darwin Nunez, Braille, and Bolo. Those were released this morning by a combination of Ben Jacobs and Tom Bogert and Paul Tenorio. So keep an eye out on all of that. Now, once again, all of the other things that are attached to everything this day. Let's get into the soccering here. Get into the transfers. Apparently, the German national team infrastructure is calling a briefing amid the Klopp coaching reports. Barcelona has signed Karim Adeyemi from Dortmund. Real Madrid still is looking for Rodri. Garnacho has joined Villa on loan. That came out about an hour ago. The video is there to prove it. It's in black and white, and it's very, very stylish. And the USL Super League and the USL Players Association, according to Jeff Kassouf, announced a tentative agreement over key terms on its first collective bargaining agreement. Agreement would give players of First Division Women's League standardized rights for the first time since launching back in 24, including minimum salaries that start at $37,200, housing benefits, and fully covered insurance premiums. Amanda Vandervoort told ESPN, I think it's a defining moment in the history of the Gamebridge Super League, a reflection of a shared commitment between the league and our players to build a stronger future together. Many of the key points mirroring rights that have also been established for players in the NWSL's most recent CBA, including consent to all transfers, which is not universally mandated in the USL men's leagues, the championship, and League One. Freedom of player movement was the principle behind the Super League decision to forego player drafts when it launched. That decision predated the NWSL's position. Term of the USL's tentative agreement, 5.5 years through the end of 2031, and that would be the Women's World Cup as your deadline. Still has to be ratified by the players in the league, and you have the 8 teams after Spokane Zephyr folded. Group licensing rights for NIL. Housing benefits include 50% of the fair market value of a 2-bedroom apartment for players, plus 100% premiums coverage of health, vision, and dental. By comparison, USL proposed minimum salary higher than the floor set by the NWSL in the first year of its original CBA, which was ratified 4 years ago. That minimum salary was $35,000 up to $50,526 in the new CBA. Minimum salary would increase throughout the agreement, although the parties did not share specifics. Imagine that it would be cost of living adjustment would be 3%. Just so if you want to look at it that way as a guidepost when it comes to salary increase. Arsenal have completed their Christophe Solis pickup from Bruges, $45.7 million for Christophe Solis. That is also in the barn. So your trending rumors, Liverpool in the driver's seat to sign PSG's Bradley Barcola, according to the 3-letter paper. Club's also looking to recruit an established winger. Barcola high on the short list. Also wanted by Arsenal, who missed out on signing Morgan Rogers, and Bayern Munich. PSG believe Barcola has a transfer value of around £100 million. Arsenal made an inquiry for RB Leipzig's Jean Diomande, according to TalkSport. Heavily linked to PSG, believe that Arsenal haven't given up on the idea of signing him yet. Diomande favors a move to France. Leipzig still hope he can be persuaded to stay at the club another year. He's 19, under contract through June 2030. Negotiations ongoing between Chelsea and Palace over Maxence Lacroix, according to Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea confident a deal can be agreed to. Lacroix wants to make the move. Liverpool have made initial approach to sign Monaco attacker Magnus Akliush, according to Sky. Tournament now concluded. He was with France. Long-term club future looks set to be resolved. PSG's had several offers turned down, potentially opening the door for Liverpool, who are said to have checked on his availability. Dortmund have improved their offer for Genk's Konstantinos Karetsis, according to Sky Germany. Total value of the new bid over €30 million. potential add-ons included. Agreement still yet to be struck. Dortmund remain confident of landing the 18-year-old. Move for Real Madrid. We talked about Rodri once again. Can no longer be ruled out completely. Multiple sources have told the four-letter done deals. We mentioned Solis. We mentioned Adeyemi. It's for €22 million. Other rumors. Manchester United and Arsenal remain locked in the battle to sign Alex Scott. Newcastle, Everton, Spurs also keen. Daily Mirror. Athletic, Fulham are in talks to sign Real Madrid striker Gonzalo Garcia, who's worked with Alvaro Arbeloa previously. Express, Bruno Fernandes, set to pledge his future to the club upon his return from summer break. Talks between the two parties are ongoing. Team talk, Arsenal willing to entertain offers for Martin Odegaard. Transfer asking price around £75 million. Telegraph, Besiktas are trying to sign Newcastle midfielder Joe Willock. Sorry, Alex. Entering the final year of his deal on Tyneside. Foot Mercato, Roma have contacted Chelsea about the availability of Axel Disasi. Blues willing to let him leave the club for €20 million this summer. Nicolas Shearer, Manchester City, ready to offer Lille €90 million for Ayub Buwadi, having already agreed to personal terms. Sky Germany, Leverkusen have struck an agreement to sign Hoffenheim right back Luca Erlein for €2 million in bonuses. River Plate have booked a medical for Angel Correa. €17 million package agreed with Tigres. Lyon have tabled a €3.5 million deal for Stoke City winger Bai Jun-ho. Championship club are looking for closer to $6 million. That's from Foot Mercato. Now, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatics, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It is good for them, good for us, good for you, because then you get to add streaming services that you might not have had as a part of your dossier. Rhode Island FC has signed forward Osman Foyo from AFC Wimbledon. Go you Wombles. See if there was a fee involved real quick. Academy product, former Chelsea Academy product joins after 3 seasons in England. Pending League Federation approval, 21-year-old joins RIFC, 4 years in the Pyramid. Successful loan spell with National League club Sutton United. Conor Smith quoted, after a year-and-a-half stay at AFC Wimbledon, 15 appearances, 2 years. Sutton, 2 goals, recorded an assist in 10 league appearances. Signed at Ipswich, split the first year there with 2 loan spells with Torquay and Wellington United. Almost took on a starting role at Chelmsford, 6'4", 198. Sutton United, AFC Wimbledon, Chelmsford, Welling United, Torquay, and Ipswich. The list of clubs available for selection following the approval of his ITC and his visa. We got Copa Sudamericana tonight on BN. On all the BNs, you get that at Fanati's. Once again, fntz.co/soccer down here. Because you get all the BNs, you get Libertadores, you get Sudamericana, you get Tigo Sports links, you get CATV links, you get all the BNs, which means you get Middle East, North Africa, WAFCON coming up around the corner. You get AFC, you get Champions League, AFCON, all the qualifiers for all the World Cups, all the age groups, plus what's going on tonight. On all the BNs, you also get Turkish League, French League, and Polish League at Fanati's and our friends at BN. You also get Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. You get CDO Plus out of Chile. You get TVV out of Venezuela, unless you have a cable package that already has the Spanish-speaking package to it. TVV is already there. And you get TSA out of Argentina. All that ready to be it with you if you get Fanatics at fntz.co/soccer down here. BN's got the Sudamericana tonight, simulcast on BN Espanol. Boulevard Gremio at 6, Boca Juniors O'Higgins at 8:30. Then the one MLS Next Pro match has already started. They're 30 minutes in. It is Revs 2 and NYCFC 2. That one is on at MLS Next Pro. That is on the MLS YouTube channel and on One Football. So that is what you've got today as everyone is traveling from point A to point B. You got a lot going on tomorrow. It's Liga MX, USL Championship, Canadian Premier League, and MLS Next Pro, and NWSL's Friday Night Football. So that is tomorrow. But today, Sudamericana on BN and MLS Next Pro going on right now. So Atlanta United is chasing after players, and it is Darwin Nunez who is attached, and it is also Braille Mbolo. So keep an eye on both of those. and we will keep an eye on all of that stuff that is attached. So there you go. That is another go-round of SDH. Thanks to our friend Niko Moreno from Pulso Sports. Thanks to Peter Raco from Barrie MLS Next Pro, as they're building a stadium that's going to seat about 4 multi-purpose venue downtown Barrie, Ontario. The Young Reds in 2 seasons are going to be leaving York University and heading to Barrie. So it's like going from the Hartsfield-Jackson Airport to Lake Point. Northern Exurbs in the Golden Horseshoe. And we got to catch up with him as the president and CEO of the Barrie MLS Stadium Project, in concert with Toronto FC and Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. So we'll see what happens over the next 2 years. Great to have them on the show this morning. Great to have you here as always. Wiley, Alex, Abby, Ricky, Will, both Wills, Will B and Will S. So all of that, Wiley was on a roll this morning. Will was on a roll. David, Will, Riley, Will, David, Ricky, Will, Ricky, and Abby, and Alex. Good morning to all of y'all. It's great to have you. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Margaret Fleming, Front Office Sports, joining us. Hopefully our friends from Apple TV. And we'll see what happens with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, unless they're conquering the planet. So since it is the end of the show, Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. That means I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 tomorrow morning here on the SDH Network. Bye.